Oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about, and assign an arbitrary, you could even say pointless, score to. Today, we're going to be discussing the return of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and their new album, Wild God. So, approaching the review of a new Nick Cave album, I can't help but consider the phenomenon of prestige. What exactly is it? How does one achieve it? Is it a positive thing for an artist? What does it actually mean? And in the context of the music industry, prestige, it's not really a thing, is it? It's not a feeling either, it's a state. Much like in Buddhism, nirvana is the highest state of being that one can attain. You could say that for artists following the religion of the song, prestige is that highest state of attainment. It's a point in a songwriter's career where their integrity, their intellect, their personal story, trials, tragedies, and triumphs, their tenure, experience, and of course, track record of unimpeachable works coalesce to form this kind of aura. And that aura of prestige enshrouds an artist and creates this kind of 6 foot perimeter around them. It enters a room before they do. It creates music before they've played a note and speaks before they've even put pen to paper. The work, the myth, the idea of Nick Cave is so elevated in that air of prestige that a new album gets to refuse your petty first judgments in a way none of its peers of the class of August 30, 2024 ever could. Anyone who seeks to approach the work critically, be they fan, journalist, or amateur with a microphone and a YouTube channel, will shrink in the presence of the prestige album, the alpha album. If you don't like it, I must be wrong. I must be missing something. And before we go any further, this isn't some bitter indictment of the concept of a prestige artist. Part of the deal with prestige is that it's earned. There are many injustices within the world of music, but somehow the whole thing about prestige, perhaps because it's unspoken and no one is the arbiter of prestige, and yet everyone is, the whole thing is that it's never not right. Cave, Dylan, Nina Simone, McCartney, Prince, Fiona Apple, Nas, Kendrick, maybe even now Beyonce, they carry that weight because they've delivered exceptional works multiple times that make us think differently. So yes, when they put out an album, this prestige artist, the fact that you feel some intangible force, should you get the sense that you don't like it, a force to listen to it at least once more, maybe again after that, and even again, it's right, it's earned, it's correct. So as you might have guessed, I initially struggled with Wild God. I've been a Bad Seeds fan for a long time and yet haven't found myself drawn to repeated listens of an album since 2013's excellent Push the Sky Away. Ultimately, it could be down to how I got into the band. It was back in the days of long hours pre and post Saturday job down the calf, trawling the CD racks of HMV, when, having long heard of the importance of Cave, I took a stab on a 2 for £10 offer on Henry's Dream and Dig Lazarus Dig. Now, in hindsight, I recognised that these two pretty rowdy albums just happened to skip over 15 vital years in which the dark, sinister, rockabilly, folk rock, gothic alternative soundtracks for unhinged butchers made huge strides into far more tender, emotional, sensitive, and piano-driven fare. I've since gone back through the catalogue and appreciate the beauty, but I think those records being my first and having that experience during the Grinderman era, no less, left me ill-equipped to be excited about the atmospheric, romantic, dreamlike, often drumless balladry of the years we'd have ahead. And of course, so much of this late era stillness stems from the completely unfathomable and utterly unknowable tragedy experienced by Cave personally after the death of his son. It's really been a gift to the world that in the face of such pain, Nick Cave poured outward with lyrics, music, song, and writing rather than retreating inwards. His writing on the topic of grief might be some of the most raw, honest, and profound I've come across, and I know has provided real comfort to myself, but also those close to me when working through personal loss. Manifesting in the form of a double album, 2019's Ghosteen, the Bad Seeds' last album, is a deep meditation on that loss and grief, and at some points is almost ambient in its search for transcendence. It's beautiful and gives me great comfort that I own it for when I may need it in the future. But as of now, thankfully, for where I am in life, I don't yet feel the urge to go back to it. It's not a record you pick up lightly. That leads us, at long last, you're probably thinking, to Wild God. And the reason I've started with this lengthy diatribe about prestige, about grief and ghosting, you see, it's Song of the Lake, the album's opening gambit that had me just, I was recoiling and questioning everything to the degree that it compelled me to put in an essay form. This song is a slow, swinging march that almost immediately breaks into church-like gospel. It presents itself like a sacred anthem that's already been playing for 10 minutes before you even put the album on. And after the hymn-like potency of Ghosteen, Cave's previous release, 2021's Carnage, not technically a Bad Seeds project, with a return to some groove, some darkness, some weirdness, even humor and coarseness, had me hopeful that we'd be entering a new era for the Bad Seeds when they did eventually return. And in just 30 seconds, the choirs heard in Song of the Lake completely deflated that hope for me. And honestly, it's like I didn't even hear the rest of the album properly for a couple of playthroughs after that. Of course, Prestige and this channel compelled me to return to the album, and I did many more times, thankfully, because I've discovered a lot to love about the record and some clearer reasoning around the things that aren't resonating with me quite as much. What I first began to appreciate on this album is that we do indeed pick up some threads from Carnage, and there is a return to some nice, slender, slithery riffs. And I don't mean in the RAWK rock sense, but whether on synth, on bass, orchestrally, or even vocally, there are some nice repeated catchy melodies and grooves that fill out the arrangements around Cave's piano progressions. The most notable of these is the album's centerpiece, Conversion, the first half of this song building pensively until an incredibly hooky vocal riff drops and builds to a long-lasting crescendo with further frantic vocals repeating the phrase, touched by the spirit, touched by the spirit, touched by the spirit. So you almost feel like we're kind of trapped in some sort of seance. And while bass fills the end of every section and dark piano chords pave the ominous road ahead. The arpeggiating, rolling electronic synth tones of Final Rescue attempt to create a perfectly on-point, dramatic, searching feeling underneath the sweeping and timeless balladry of Cave. And Frogs is up there with Conversion as probably one of the best arranged and produced pieces on the whole LP. There are so many elements, and this is the sort of thing I was looking for after Ghosteen, because on that album, there were equally deep and well-placed layers, but they were weaved into an ambient tapestry of worship. On the track Frogs, we have the same level of craftsmanship, but applied to a dark but magical, brooding but triumphant celebration of life. It starts with sparkling, dreamlike loops of xylophone, joined soon with an ever-present and looping synth drone, which is then mirrored and then embellished upon by strings and beautiful choral vocals. There's just a fantastic rhythm to the whole track as well, a brilliant organic swing from Thomas Wilder and Jim Sklavanos that I've deeply missed from this band, and this is then built upon by one of this album's star guests, Radiohead's Colin Greenwood on bass. And as per his usual MO, Greenwood is one of the finest around at being noticed only when the song has space for it and when it calls for it. On Frogs, there is so much dynamic range to his playing. He really adapts his attack of the guitar to match the swells and wanes, the ebbs and flows of the track, all while finding the right moments to play some of the most lyrical, satisfying fills, but coming back to perfectly hit that root bass note under the piano every single time. Greenwood isn't the only guest on the album either. Cinnamon Horses benefits from some fantastic classical guitar from Spanish composer Luis Almao, which adds a really nice texture against the very brassy movements of that piece. To complete my highlights on the instrumental palette, I also want to call out the track Oh Wow, Oh Wow. This is a tribute to Anita Lane, a singer-songwriter who'd been a previous member of Bad Seeds and passed away in 2021. This song has a really nice simple rhythm with some interesting vocoder type synth over the top and the absolute killer move of a fuzzy recording of Lane herself, recounting her time in the band and time as Cave's kind of romantic partner. You can't not fall helplessly over heels for her shining personality and just the shimmering glow that that type of telephone distortion weirdly imbues everything with. As I've peeled back the layers of the songs and become more and more familiar with this album, it definitely has grown on me. But I will say, I still find a lot of the church-like backing vocals just don't quite resonate. Still, on Song of the Lake, I feel like they're kind of unearned and out of left field, like the song needs more of a build-up. The spacious and slow theatrical joy fills me with anything but and pulls me right down after the high of Frogs. With that being said, this album is called Wild God, and true to that title, some use of church-like gospel should be expected and is fitting. I suppose for me, as someone that isn't religious but nonetheless appreciates music mostly wherever it's from, my preferred flavour of that gospel sound is less Anglo-centric. Here we're not talking about the infectious grooves of the American South, which birthed the blues. It feels more puritanical and it just lacks the sort of soul and swing that would resonate a lot more for me when this type of style is needed. Nonetheless, I'll finish by saying the title track Wild God is a fantastic part of the album and a great early moment of Cave tapping into his captivating shaman-like frontman energy. And as someone that doesn't keep up to date with the Red Hand files, Nick Cave's continuing honest dialogue with fans who submit questions, I'm somewhat loath to put forward my kind of theory on the theme of the record, for fear it's already been disproved by no less than the author himself. But fuck it, I get the sense that though religious iconography may have been manipulated and maybe mocked by Cave in his wilder younger years, as an older man who has endured a lot of just life in all its ups and downs, like we all have to an extent and will as we grow, but in particular for Cave, a lot of profound loss, he has become far more spiritual, not necessarily in a conventional religious sense, but he does seem to recognize God, but the concept of God as an aspect of humanity. A wild God is any one of us out there in the world capable of both incredible love and creation just as much as hate and destruction. I'm going to give this one a solid 7 and knock it on the head. That's just what I think though. What are you lot saying? Let me know in the comments. Is this your favorite Nick Cave album for a while? What do you think of it related to the other albums he's put out? Many albums at this point. And check out some other some other videos linked in the description below. If you can be asked to do all that, you may as well subscribe. Stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just help some abuse. And I'll see you in the next video.
Right. If you're still here and if you like my content, you're someone that plans to watch more of it, has watched some of it in the past, then this message is for you. I'm basically looking to hear from you. I'm trying to think of ways to kind of take this outside of the channel. And for those people in the community, it's a very, very small community. I'll give you that. I want to do something special. So email me. It's doodlereview.club@gmail.com. Put the name of the video you've just watched in the heading and I will send you something cool. I don't know what the next thing is going to be yet. I'm still working that out. But if you drop me a line, you're going to be first in line for whatever's bubbling up.
All right. Take care then. Cheers, mate. Mine, there you go. Bye-bye.